What's up, guys? Lunch money time while Wall Street's trying to get rich. The rest of us just trying to get our lunch money right. I've got the beautiful and intelligent Miss Polina Marinova here. The last day that we have to do this remotely. What's going on over there?
See, today there's no lag, so we're not going to talk over each other.
We're getting smarter. We're getting smarter. What's the first topic?
So unemployment, it's the devastation is has reached Great Depression levels. What do you think?
Yeah, so two things. So yesterday we talked about unemployment in the last week. Is over 33 million people have filed for new unemployment claims in the last 7 weeks. Now, what the numbers that came out today were April's numbers. So they're showing that 20 million Americans, a little over 20 million, are now kind of sustainably on unemployment. So it wasn't just a one-time file for the week. It's actually they're on unemployment. That means that the unemployment number has jumped up to over 14%, right? And if you go back, remember about 15% was the third year of the Great Depression. So very
15% was the third year.
So in the Great Depression, basically what happened was in 1929, they were at 3.1%.
Yep.
They jumped the next year to over 8%. And then the third year in 1931, they jumped to over 15%. What we've seen here is in February, we were at 3.5%. We then jumped to, in March, over 4%, almost 5%. Now we've jumped to over 14%. But there's a catch. There's always a catch when there's data. So one of the things that came out recently is in a JP Morgan note is that over 6 million people are not being counted as unemployed. Instead, they're being counted as having left the workforce. So if those people were being counted as unemployed, you would then have over 18% unemployed.
Well, why would they be counted if they're unemployed, given that you said they're retired or they're just out of the workforce? Why would
Yeah.
we count them?
So basically they get retired. They say they're not looking for work anymore, right? All these different things. The problem with that component of it is they actually may not be looking for work, right? They actually may be retiring. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't give us a clear picture, if you don't include them, of the job destruction that's happened over the last couple of weeks, right? And so again, look, at the end of the day, this is really, really bad, regardless of how you count. 14%, 18%, whatever it is, those are the official numbers. And of course, then you add in freelancers, gig workers, self-employed. The situation is really bad. And the last thing I'll say on this is just, I don't know if you've seen it, Plano, but there's more and more reports of restaurants in New York City that aren't coming back, bars that aren't coming back, right? And people just throwing their hands up and saying, listen, we're done, right?
Well, it's been 2 months. I mean, who can survive at this point? This is just
Well,
it's
even with the federal relief, most of them don't have the capital base to do it, right? And so what it ends up highlighting, again, if you go back, is how many of these companies are coming back, how many of these small businesses make up 50% of all jobs in the United States. And if, let's say, 20% don't come back, that means that on average, 10% of the jobs aren't coming back. So even if we reopen the economies, we get people back to work, 10% of the jobs just aren't going to be there, which is going to be a big issue, right?
yeah, absolutely.
All right, what's the next topic?
Okay. Uh, Paul, a billionaire, is getting into Bitcoin. Paul Tudor Jones thinks Bitcoin could be the fastest horse in the markets.
Do you know who Paul Tudor Jones
Of
is?
course I do.
He's an
The hedge
absolute,
fund guy.
yeah, he's an absolute legend on Wall Street. He's been very early in a lot of asset classes. He's been doing this for a long time. He's worth over $5 billion. And his whole thing was in 2017, he traded around in Bitcoin, but just used it as a trading, asset. And I think he actually doubled his money, doubled some of the money that he put in. So he had a good experience, but just said, look, this isn't actually something that I'm interested in. Now comes, 2020, and he calculates that over $4 trillion has been printed since February, right, by central banks around the world. And he's worried about inflation. And so he went and he looked at all these different inflation hedge assets. He said Bitcoin to him is going to be the winner. He thinks it will appreciate the most and will provide the most protection. And so he's going to take a single digit percentage, probably somewhere between 2 to 5% of his fund, and he's going to put it into Bitcoin and get exposure to it. One, it's just interesting that somebody who's so, held in high regard on Wall Street and so much part of like the old boys club, publicly is saying this and doing this. I think that's a big validation. It gives a lot of people kind of career cover. Now, if you're at another hedge fund, you can go ahead and look at this and possibly do it, because you can always point and say, well, Paul Tudor Jones did it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Paul isn't exactly like an anarchist or the type of person you think when you think Bitcoin. Do you think that this will bring more people from Wall Street down to the lunch money level?
So he actually says in the note, and I forget the exact language, but he basically says something like, I'm not a crypto nut, right? Saying like, look, like exactly what you're saying, right? It's just, I'm just looking at this as rationally as possible. And I think that this is important. It definitely will give a lot of people permission to now talk about this, to potentially invest in it and go look at it. And it goes back to what we've been talking for weeks now. There's lots of money printing going on. Inflation is likely to hit at some point in the future. And if you have sound money principles, whether it's gold or Bitcoin, you're likely to be protected. So it's great to see somebody doing that, that comes kind of from the old Wall Street world.
Do we think this is why Bitcoin hit 10K?
I don't know if there's two schools of thought here, right? Three. One is just the macroeconomic backdrop. Obviously, things are getting worse. People want Bitcoin, whether it's Paul Tudor Jones or, average Joe or Sue, no problem. They're just buying the assets, a fixed supply, price goes up. Two is yesterday when the news got announced, within the next 2 hours, there was a pretty big jump in price, couple $100. So that's kind of like the Paul Tudor Jones effect, if you will. And then the third is the halving is coming, right? So the Bitcoin halving is going to happen on very early Tuesday morning. And people are speculating around that, right? So it's kind of a convolution of all these things.
Can you help the people understand this and put an end to the debate? Is it halving or halvening?
What do you say?
I say halving.
That's what I say too.
I don't know what a halvening is, but who knows?
So I think that the halvening is the way that it was said originally. And then over time, people were like, wait a minute, that sounds pretty dumb. And they started to use halving. And now there's, I don't know, 50-50, halving. But definitely halving, I think, is becoming more popular and more accepted. And really the people who started out saying halvening, right? They're kind of stuck in their ways, if you will. But either one's right. I don't think either one is wrong.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go down this rabbit hole.
It's a controversial debate in the Bitcoin world. You want to hear something really interesting that I looked up this morning?
What?
I'll ask you two quiz questions. The first is, what do you think the price appreciation of Bitcoin has been since the last halving?
Are we talking percentages?
No, just actual, what do you think or let me ask you this way. What do you think the price was at the last halving?
Hold on. Right now it's 10K. And the last halving was 4 years ago, right?
Yes.
Was it like 4K?
No, it was $670, give or take.
Oh, wow.
So it's gone up 15x since the last halving, 15x in 4 years. Now the hash rate is how much computing power is securing the network. How many multiples has it increased since 2016? 2x, 3x, 100x. What do you think it is?
14x.
78x.
Oh,
in
so
4
close.
So it's just it just is more data points suggesting like it's growing. People are buying into it, both psychologically and financially. All right, what's next?
So guess who Elon Musk doesn't like of all the people?
Who?
Warren Buffett.
Not surprising.
Do you know why he doesn't like him?
No, why?
So Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan's podcast again. This time they did not smoke weed, but they did talk about various things, including how Elon Musk is not the biggest fan of Warren Buffett. And the reason is because he says Warren is a capital allocator. And he said he reads a lot of annual reports of companies, all the account. And it's pretty boring, honestly. What he's trying to figure out is, does Coke or Pepsi deserve more capital? He thinks that's boring. He thinks, but here's what I think. I think that Elon's just a little salty because Warren Buffett is 5th in the world on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index and Musk is 22nd. I'd be salty too.
So you think that he's mad because Warren Buffett's richer than him?
Yes.
Maybe. It's possible for sure.
So Musk is basically saying Warren is a capital allocator. I am building, I'm building this stuff. I'm a builder.
Is he wrong?
I don't
Which
know.
job? Let me ask you this: which job is harder?
I don't know. I think, well, yeah, I feel like Musk's, whatever the hell he's doing is really difficult. But also, Buffett, like, how do you know if Coke or Pepsi deserves more capital?
Well, there's a lot of people over the last decade or 20 years who have beaten Buffett's returns.
Including the S&P.
Fact. That's definitely a fact. Look, he's one of the best investors in the world, right? And it has been for a very long time. So taking nothing away from Warren Buffett, but it is much easier for somebody sitting at home to be a capital allocator than to be a builder, right? And obviously, if you look at something what Elon Musk has done, where he literally re-lands rockets, right? And he's now got he's got the only American car company in like the last 100 years that has survived, right? And so it's just, these are very, very hard things to do. Takes nothing away from Buffett, but I think Musk's point, it sounds like, is very much builder versus capital allocator.
Yeah.
And of course, the builder is going to think the capital allocator is boring, right? So that's not surprising. I also think that there's an element, if I remember correctly, Buffett said some things recently that he would not be buying Tesla stock. And so that wouldn't be
Another reason to be salty.
Exactly. Well, and also you named your kid after a robot, so you got that going.
Wait, I saw this meme. I don't know if it's real, so fact check this. But basically, like they broke it down by how each thing sounds, and it broke down into Kyle. And it was like, all of this for a Kyle. It was great.
So funny. The other thing I saw was somebody was saying, what a weird world we live in, where Elon Musk basically has to go on Joe Rogan so that we can have a sanity check after he fires off a couple crazy tweets, right? Like from like a PR standpoint, he said all this crazy stuff, a couple of days ago. Then within a week, he's on Joe Rogan and they have an in-depth discussion so everyone can see that Musk is okay. Like, what?
Yeah. Honestly,
crazy, right?
These days?
All right, what's next?
So, Frontier Airlines. Have you ever taken a Frontier flight?
Once, never again.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's like Spirit, but worse.
Oh, that's the one where like they charge you for like the seat you're.
No, they charge you for the oxygen while you're sitting in the seat. They're like, hey, you want to breathe our air? No problem. That'll be $20. Oh, you want an armrest? That didn't come with your seat. That's another $20.
Do you remember when we went to Iceland and like
Yeah.
we didn't, that was a whole thing. Okay. So Frontier Airlines will soon become the first US carrier to check passengers' temperatures before allowing people to get on board. So basically, if you're checking in and you have a temperature, if you have a fever, so over 100 Fahrenheit, you can't get on.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two schools of thought. One is that they're starting to overreach on civil liberties and personal freedoms. Take, for example, the Patriot Act and all the TSA stuff after 2001. Now they basically search you. They literally pat you down. They take an x-ray of your body, all that kind of stuff, all in the name of safety, right? So there's a balance there between, two different groups of thought. But then the other argument is, that you should be allowed, take the libertarian argument, right? Which is basically you should be allowed to do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody else, right? But the argument could be if you get on the plane with a temperature, you're hurting somebody else, right? And so it's, I don't know. These are complex topics that have no right or wrong answer. That there's kind of operating in the gray area. And, look, at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people are going to start flying right away. And so it'll be interesting to see, is this going to be a permanent solution, or is this going to be, hey, we're going to do it for 6 months and then we'll go back to the way we used to do it.
It's interesting that it's Frontier that's doing this. It's not like Delta or United or American.
Well, Frontier's on the frontier.
They want to charge you for something extra.
They might charge you. They might charge you for the test.
Maybe.
Right. The other thing too is, would you get on a plane within the next 6 weeks if you knew that everyone was going to get tested? Like, would it make you more confident?
So we had this conversation. I don't want to get on a plane right now, just for various things, but I don't know. I guess it would, but I wouldn't want to be tested. Does that make sense?
You want to get on the plane and not get tested?
No, like I would feel more confident flying if I knew nobody had a fever on the flight, but I don't like the idea of them testing people.
Yeah, I'm with you. But
Yeah.
they got to test to find it, right? All right, what's next? Hey, by the way, don't think I didn't notice your 70s disco outfit on there.
How is the 70s disco?
Yeah, I see. It's like, with the shining ball going around, the disco ball, and it going off the lights. Just hit us with like one of these little disco moves. All right, exactly. Go ahead.
What am I going ahead for?
What is the next topic?
Guys, he can't see the topics right now, so I'm in full control. Let's see, what do I want to talk about?
No, come on.
So there's a picture that you sent me. It says, great picture of what a virtual classroom can look like when it meets the non-virtual world. And it's a little girl doing her homework at her parents' like restaurant.
Yeah, it looks, I don't know where the photo is from, so people will definitely figure it out. But it looks like it's somewhere in Asia. And it looks like it's kind of not like a street vendor, but definitely like a shop where there might not be any seating. So you kind of walk right into the counter and they're serving some sort of food. And she's sitting under the counter and has a laptop out, and she's doing her classroom while her parents are serving customers. And so, there's two pieces. Some people on the internet are upset by the photo. They're like, wow, that's so sad that that girl is literally stuck at a restaurant doing it. Then there's a whole nother group of people who are basically saying, look, how optimistic does this make you that now this girl who might not have had access to education can now get access to education simply with a laptop and a Wi-Fi, while she's at her parents' restaurant? Which camp are you in?
I like that she can do that. I like that the power of technology has gotten us so far.
You're in the optimist camp?
I'm in the optimist. Like she can do anything she wants.
Can she?
Yes.
All right. I'm on board. Look, technology makes the world better, right? Yes, it can be used for bad or nefarious things, but I definitely agree that it makes it better for the most part. And we should encourage this stuff. I'm like, good for her. She's learning. Everyone leave her alone. Stop trying to, politicize her on the internet.
I don't think anybody's trying to politicize her, but.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Come on. If there's a photo on the internet, it's definitely getting politicized.
Oh, okay.
All right, come on. We're running out of time. We only got a couple minutes left. What else you got?
Well, it's Mother's Day on Sunday, and it's also lunch money time.
So we heard a rumor. We've been getting information that there are a lot of moms who are watching this show. So from Polina and I, happy Mother's Day to all of you. We know who some of you are. They're not our mothers. They're actually other people's mothers. But one, we appreciate you guys watching. And two, there are probably many, many other moms that are out there. So happy Mother's Day. Polina, how do you say that in Bulgarian?
Oh my God.
Put her on the spot. Yes.
Честит ден на майката? I think. I don't know. Oh no.
All the Bulgarians are gonna come with their pitchforks.
Yeah. Oh no.
Why is it hard?
Oh, Честит 8 Mart. It's hard because Mother's Day in Bulgaria is March 8th, which is like International Women's Day, and that's when they celebrate it. You guys have a different one. That's why I couldn't think of it.
Why do you guys have different holidays than the rest of us?
No, you have different holidays. So,
that's fair.
And then lunch money?
What should we make people do? Take the URL, share it on social media, use the hashtag lunch money, and
any URL. It doesn't have to be this URL or this lunch money.
Yeah, it can be any show, and use hashtag lunch money and tell us one thing you learned this week. No jokes. What did you learn?
People are going to have jokes. And then guys,
I had something funny to say there and I didn't say it because I want to be nice today.
I've been on TikTok, and I've been on TikTok's like magic trick TikTok. Oh man, I have so many things to show you when you come back. You're on magic TikTok? Magic trick TikTok. It exists. Oh my God, it's so cool. People are really smart and funny. And
all right, guys, $100. We're going to give $100 this Friday to whoever shares one of the videos from the week. Use hashtag lunch money. Tell us one thing you learned. We'll get some people some lunch money. And while Wall Street's trying to get rich, the rest of us just trying to get our lunch money right. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for putting up with all of Polina's bad dad jokes. And we will talk to you guys on Monday.